Hey everyone, welcome back and happy Wednesday. All right, guys. Well, last night, NextGen NYC and also The Valley. Um, I gotta give it to both shows. They kept my attention this week. I think that well, one, the labels that are being hurled are wild, and we're gonna dissect all of that. But then two, just the fact that, like, I didn't think the valley could get even more dark, and it's still continuing. I'm just baffled. I'm just curious, like, what does the future hold for this cast? Now, for Next Gen NYC, we'll get into that too. We're gonna get into everything. I'm gonna play a clip. We got a lot to talk about. So before we jump in, if you guys have not already, go ahead, pop off in the comment section. If you're not subscribed, get subscribed. Don't forget to hit that notification bell. And Jason is on the road getting stuff done. And so yeah, it's just me today, little old me. So here we go. All right, guys. So we pick up the episode where we left off, and that was in Hawaii. Which, listen, I thought that the engagement was really, really good. I thought he did a great job, Luke, and it seems like everybody's really happy. There are a couple things that I agree with in this episode with some people, and there are a few things that I don't, and that's what we're here to do: is recap the episodes, but also give our opinions. I agree with the fact that Jason and Janet Caperna decided not to partake in Kristen and Luke's engagement festivities. The reason why I'm going to double down on this is because I've had multiple times where I have been invited to birthday events or holiday events or gatherings that somebody might have. And it's wild because you would think, like, why are you even inviting me to that? You don't like me. We don't have a relationship. And, you know, for a lot of those gatherings, I always kind of viewed them as a celebration. So if we're not on great terms, then why? I don't want to go to a celebration. I would rather just respectfully bow out and be like, oh no, unfortunately, I can't make it, you know? And so for Janet and Jason to be like, well, we don't see where this would make sense for us being there. I agreed with that. So I'm gonna throw that out there really quick. But now moving on, for the whole situation with Luke and Kristen, their engagement obviously is the entire centerpiece of Hawaii at this point. And there was a boat party called the Cruise from Hell. And yeah, it seems like tensions get a little explosive because Janet and Kristen end up having a conversation. And that's when Janet accused Danny Booko of SA, committing SA, you guys know, sexual assault, on Jasmine Good and Michelle, her girlfriend, now fiance, during one of the gatherings, which has become a central storyline to this entire season. Now, Kristen was definitely taken aback. She was like, excuse me? No, you did not just use that word. No, you did not just use that. No, you did not just use that label. I'm going to say this. I ended up seeing where somebody posted what the true definition is for, SA. And I saw this and I saw where people are kind of leaning into it. I feel like that's an extreme label to give somebody. But then I was waiting to hear what Jasmine Good had to say since it revolved around her. This is what she said.
Just because she's not wrong when she says it was SA, It just sucks because she's not wrong when she says it was SA,
She says it just sucks because she's not wrong when she says it's SA. Now, somebody also posted this, Breaking the Rules pod clips. Thank you for sharing this. But they said SA can take many forms and can include a spectrum of acts from unwanted touching to the word that rhymes with grape. It's any form of, oh my God, Well, you guys can see. I'm not reading this. Um, any intentional touching without a person's consent may include under or over the clothing, maybe the butt, the breast, the groin, any of these body parts, making another person touch any of these body parts over or under clothing and or oi. Okay. So what they're saying is by term, by definition, this could be categorized under that. I'm just shocked that Janet Caperna came out with that. And I've always said this, I've maintained if Jasmine and her girlfriend or fiance now, if they felt uncomfortable, hold him accountable, and they have held him accountable. He has apologized 3 times. That does not make it right. I haven't heard her actually hurl that label out there before this. So I was just kind of taken aback that, again, it came from Janet. But Jasmine ended up questioning why Danny and Nia are not present. And, I think that tensions also got a little bit crazy amongst the group because Brittany is pissed off and upset over the fact that, well, she was left out of the engagement party. One, the engagement party, like the engagement that happened on the boat, I thought that Luke made a good point when he was like, I want to keep this very intimate. I don't want to share this with people because I don't want it to get out. I don't want Kristen Doute to find out. Obviously, she's the one who he was proposing to. So I understood where he was going with all of that. And lo and behold, he was right. Because when Zach is trying to plan this whole little party for them to celebrate their engagement, Zach's like, all right, guys, this is what we have going on. Everybody's going to get together, yada, yada. Okay, cool, good, right? And Brittany starts like getting really visibly upset. And she's like, she's one of my best friends. Lo and behold, out of everyone, Brittany ends up telling Jax that Kristen and Luke got engaged. So then Kristen calls out Brittany and was like, wait, what? You told Jax? And she's like, yeah, I didn't think that he was going to say anything. And Kristen goes, what are you talking about? You've been with this man for 10 years. You didn't think he was going to say anything. What do you mean you didn't think he was going to say anything? Obviously, he's going to say something. Like, that doesn't even make sense what you're saying, which I agree with Kristen. Like, Brittany, girl, you lived in the house. You were married to this man. This man cannot keep a secret. He literally can't keep a secret for shit. He even says in the confessional, like, no, you can't trust me with your secrets. What are you doing, Brittany? So now, before I was kind of like, oh, that I feel bad for Brittany. No, I don't. I don't feel bad for Brittany in this sense because you just proved you proved Luke's point. But Danny and his wife, Nia, also are denying the assault claims. And Kristen, she defended Danny. And she accused Janet of using legal terms to stir drama and slander him on national television. She said that this was legitimately defamation. Yeah. She also kept telling Janet that she was a fan, and she was like, you could get off of the boat. You're a fan. You are a fan. But Janet held her ground, stating that her husband's a lawyer and, helped her determine the incident met the legal definition of SA. And she later, gave an apology for her wording, kind of an apology. It wasn't like a great apology. I'm sitting here trying to play it back in my head, and I'm like, oh, it wasn't really like something that you write home about. It seemed like she didn't even want to apologize to begin with. But, after this, she obviously put her social media on private due to a lot of the backlash and death threats. And this all came out right on last night's episode. And then what's interesting is looking at the preview for next week's episode, it's Jasmine who ends up meeting up with Danny and Nia to talk about what exactly happened, what exactly was said. And she was like, I think that Janet right now is making this worse. And Janet, what are you doing? I think that she was trying to be there for me in that moment, but I don't really feel like she landed it in that moment. No, I definitely think that this got blown up into something that is absolutely 10 times worse at this point. And between the SA allegations, the domestic abuse allegations, the ring camera allegations, the mental emotional abuse allegations, the rehab, the throwing of the stools, the flipping of the tables, the bruises on the knees. all of this is starting to add up to the fans. I will say that because I can see the comments and I can see what people are saying. This is starting to add up to the fans and become a very toxic show. And I'm wondering if it's going to take like Andy Cohen or Alex Baskin. Like, who is going to sit down with this group of people and be like, guys, we need to change the direction. And like, we need to change it fast. And if you guys don't have real things to talk about, you don't have real storylines, whatever the case is, then we need to either reorganize this cast and figure out what's going on and how we can make this show better, or we need to table the show, which eventually that will happen because people will boycott it. I don't know. But moving on, a less toxic show. Thank you. Over to NextGen NYC, which is also still ironically pretty toxic. But I don't know if you guys watched last night's episode. They ended up taking a trip, the cast, to Ocean City. They headed to a casino weekend in New Jersey where they were going down to the Jersey Shore. And I thought, you know, it was interesting. It seems like Gia definitely likes to keep everybody coming to Jersey. It doesn't seem like she really likes going to Manhattan a whole lot. But there was one person who was noticeably absent, and that was Ava. Ava decided that she had, a modeling gig. This modeling gig was way more important, so she needed to take off and go to the Hamptons. And listen, if the girl is booked and busy, you guys saw that her apartment, she ended up getting kicked out of her apartment. She got evicted because there was multiple months of the $10,000 a month rent not getting paid. So I'm not mad at the girl for working. Like, you got to work. Your dad already said, I can't foot the bill. However, on top of that, we have Georgia McCann. You guys remember her because she was the one that last week we had Charlie Zakor who looked at her and was like, you are such a piece of shit, garbage human. And your family's poor. You're so broke. And you're only on this show because of me. So you're lucky and yada, yada. But also she's notorious for not washing her hands, which a lot of people think that is really gross. And I'm fine with you not washing your hands as long as you're not touching me. Otherwise, I'll take my chances washing my hands and not being immune to all of the germs. Like, girl, if you go into the bathroom and you do things and you touch things and things are happening, and then you come out and like we have dinner and there's food out and everybody's like grabbing the same spoon after you just went to the bathroom and they're scooping things onto their plates. No, you nasty. Go wash your little nasty ass hands. Okay? I mean, I don't mean to be a jerk about it, but I mean, like, no. But we've moved past that. So carry on. Kim Zolciak of The Real Housewives of Atlanta makes a cameo, and she arrived to support her daughter, Ariana, which was interesting to see her. I mean, she had her red Solo cup, which we always know her for, and she showed up. She saw the apartment. She was talking to her daughter and Hudson, and while she was talking to him, they ended up sharing with her that, hey, we went to a place called The Box, which I told you guys, and I think Jason told you that he actually used to work. He choreographed for The Box, and The Box is a wild place. Wild place. Very gross. If you watch the show, like very artistic, but there are some very nasty moments. I'll just say that. You guys can Google it. But they ended up going to The Box. Charlie said that the table was like $2,000 or $4,000. The table ends up being around $14,000, and boom, Charlie doesn't have a wallet. Wow, that's shocking. That's when Ariana broke that news to Kim, and she talked about this bill, the $14,000 bill. And the group is pretty shocked, even Kim, who says that she'd rather stay home and drink her wine, but she was like, really? Now he's not answering you? Of course he's not answering you. You want to know why? Because you just footed that bill. Hudson paid the bill. Okay. And I'm over here like looking at Kim Zolciak thinking, yeah, well, girl, you don't get a whole lot to say because she's over here on the show. She's recording with like producers. She's recording with Bravo. And she's outing you and Croy. She's outing both of your asses for spending all of her and her sister's money. So you did foot a lot of the bills, just not entirely with your own wallet. So I don't know if you really deserve to have an opinion on this one. it seems like that might be a little bit of a stretch. Sorry, Kim Zolciak. Sorry. But I'm just being honest. Now, Charlie also confessed to telling multiple cast members that he wants to sleep with Ariana Bierman, despite her having her boyfriend, who we know of. And a lot of people think that he's definitely an antagonist on this show. So moving on over to the casino, Georgia ended up demanding a sincere apology where Charlie offered kind of like a bullshit one, saying, you know, it's his go-to get out of jail free card. And she rejected, saying that, listen, this is damaging. Like the damage that you have caused to me and the way that you talk to me, it was bullshit. And no, I'm not going to accept your apology. And later on, Georgia was also blindsided when Ariana and Brooks, they were taking selfies with Charlie during dinner. And she was kind of saying, like, what the are they doing? Like, why would you be taking selfies with it? We are mad at him, you guys. We are mad. But obviously they don't give a shit. They're not that mad. I mean, they care, but I don't think that they're that mad. They even brought a magician in, and I think that the magician was brought in to distract the group for a second, but literally as soon as before he arrived, they were arguing, and right before, like right when he left, the arguing continued. So no, I don't think that the magician landed. I want to hear what you guys think, though. Honestly, with the Valley, we get Sheena back next week. The girls go over to her house. We're going to see that. We're also going to see on NextGen NYC how everything plays out with Charlie Zakor. I'm curious how this is going to play out with Jax Taylor and what he says about the whole engagement part of the situation. I think that there are so many different moving components, moving parts to both of these shows. I'm just happy that it wasn't like last week, because last week was a total freaking snooze fest. I was not into it. I thought it was terrible. Did not want to watch it. And I honestly, this is how I know. When I start getting on my phone and I start looking at things while things are happening, that's when I know, oh, shit. Okay, I'm not into it. Not good, Bravo. Not good. So smash the like button, show some love, get subscribed. And if you're listening on the podcast, drop a rating, and we will see you guys next time. Bye.